Okay, good morning, dear students. Let's begin our today's lesson. So today's our theme is the methods of foreign language teaching. So as you know, we know two methods, traditional and modern foreign language teaching methods. Okay, this method is, traditional method is very teacher dominated. The great responsibility is put on the shoulders of teachers. He or she, the teacher gives a lot of great deal of tasks with translation, texts or new words and asking them in turn. Some scholars consider that in traditional method of education, where teachers serve as a source of knowledge at the same time, students become very passive receivers. As for me, I can say that from my own experience, if teacher doesn't ask what he or she gave or taught, students become lazier and lazier day by day. So what will happen next? At the end, he addicts to his routine, and even students with great inner motivation will lose their interest eventually. And the next, as you know, it's a very modern technology, modern foreign language. It is called CLT. What is CLT? It means communicative language teaching. As you know, as I mentioned before, it's a modern foreign language teaching. Or we can say also the communicative approach is an approach to language teaching that emphasizes interaction as both the means and the ultimate goal of study. Language learners learn and practice the target language through the interaction with one another and the instructor, the study of authentic texts. What I mean by this? I mean that in the communicative language teaching, students can learn, they should be able to use the new vocabulary or the information what they have learned in their speech in real life situation. That's why it is the best method in our modern life, CLT, communicative language teaching. And your students should be able to use their knowledge in their speech in real situation in order to communicate with others, especially with foreigners. And this method focuses on the learning experience in addition to the learning of target language. According to CLT, the goal of language education is the ability to communicate in the target language. And it's a very modern and effective learning. So let's pay attention to this presentation. Methods of teaching foreign language. What are we going to cover? Foreign language teaching method. It is the first traditional method. As you know, the grammar translation, direct, audiolingual, the silent way, Registerpedia, communicative language learning, total physical response. Next, communicative language teaching and the content-based and the task-based approach. Let's introduce with the answers. Community language learning. Another humanistic psychology learning method focuses on teacher-controller's role. Teacher focuses on understanding student struggles. Community language learning. It's not CLT, it's CLL. It means community language learning. And community language learning advises teachers to take their students as whole persons. A group of ideas concerning psychological requirements for successful and non-defensive learning are collected under the economy. So, the two most basic principles community language learning, we can read and introduce with them, and we'll continue with the most important information. Goal. What is goal? There are two objectives in this method. What is objective? It's aim of the lesson. Objective means aim of the lesson, goal of the lesson in this method. Short-range objectives include training in listening comprehension and accurate pronunciation. As you know, it's very important to learn pronunciation also if you want to communicate with others fluently. And if you want to communicate with others effectively, it's very important to know to learn pronunciation also. Long-range objective or the ultimate goal is to develop the students' abilities or the same like what native speakers have to use it automatically without stopping to think. What does it mean? You should think and target language. It's the best way to learn, to develop your knowledge, especially in learning languages. Design objectives. Read and introduce to these objectives, listening comprehension, accurate pronunciation, recognition of speech symbols or graphic, and others. Direct method is also traditional, as I mentioned before. So principles of the direct method. What kind of principles? There are 5 principles. Classroom instruction, vocabulary and sentences, oral communication, grammar and punctuation, listening comprehension. And by the end of this lecture, students should be able to what? Develop an awareness about the history of the direct speech. They are also about the traditional method. As you know, recognize the nature of the direct method approach. Definition of direct method. What is direct method? As you know, direct method is named direct because meaning should be connected directly with the target language without translation into the native language. Role of the teachers and role of the students. Teachers should give information and the students should get information about related to the subject. Silent wave method. What is silent wave? The silent wave was originated by Dr. Caleb Catigmo. It derives its name from the fact that the teacher conducting a silent way, class is silent for most of the time. The learner should be encouraged to produce as much language as possible. Okay. Next one, let's continue. The characteristics, the following characteristics: active, cooperative, problem solving, productive, and teacher uses gesture, charts, blackboard. By these ways, it's easy to explain our theme and to understand effectively. The silent way of teaching. The silent way, as I mentioned before, is the name of method of language teaching devised by Caleb Catigno, focuses on speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Use target language, student-centered. Study based on student skills and knowledge. What does it mean, student-centered? As you know, students should work more and teachers should work less than students. It is called, that's why, student-centered. And what is study based on student skills and knowledge? It is the same also. Learning facilitated by accompanying physical objects. Teachers should facilitate the learners in order to get some information related to the subject. Errors are important in learning. Why we say errors are important in learning? Because by analyzing their errors or mistakes and by working on their mistakes, students can learn effectively because they know what kind of mistakes he or she did. Involve me and I learn principles. Suggestopedia. What is suggestopedia? It means brain work. Students should think about what he or she is going to learn. He should think about it and he should suggest some new information. Here, some information about what is suggestopedia. As I mentioned it in my speech, suggestopedia is a teaching method which is based on a modern understanding on how the human brain works and how we learn most effectively. If you think about the topic first, as we have the proverb first think, then speak. It includes early sensory learning, a positive expectation of success, and the use of a varied range of methods like dramatized texts, music, active participation in songs, and games. What I mean by this? As you know, by listening to the songs or by playing games, pupils or students can learn with great interest effectively. Suggestopedia was originally applied mainly in foreign language teaching. and the following key elements of the strategy: merit and incentives. Students' role, as I mentioned before, what should learners do? Learners must not try to figure out, manipulate, or study the material presented, but must maintain a passive state. Background. An educational method based on a modern understanding of how the human brain works and how we learn most effectively. It's often claimed that it can teach languages approximately 3 times as quickly as conventional methods. Teachers' role, as I mentioned before, teachers should facilitate in order to get the students some information about the topic, to create situations in which learners are more suggestible. Show absolute confidence in the method. Organizer and the observer, what does it mean? It means that they should organize and they should control the class. It's time. I wanted to ask you some questions, but it's time. Okay. Thank you for your watching. There are some 4 questions we can answer first. What are the language teaching methods? Please switch on your microphones in order to answer my questions. Кумышева, Zumrat, Davranova, Madina, microphone зачела. Switch on your microphone, please. Students, all of you. Kumusheva, first question, can you answer what are the language teaching methods? Please be quick. The time up. Any of you can answer this question. What are the language teaching methods? Davranova, Martina, switch off your microphone, please.
There are 7 language teaching methods. There are grammar translation, audiolingual, the structural approach.
Okay, thanks for your question. Thanks for your answer. Next question. What is traditional language teaching? It's a seminar. Please be active. What is the traditional language teaching? Nuria, Gülruh, switch on your microphone. Safarbayeva, Gülruh. All of you should switch on your
traditional language. In a traditional language teaching, grammar is taught inductively.
Yeah. Okay.
Language patterns are presented.
Okay, thanks. Next question said, which teaching method is best for you? Gülruh. Gülruh. Third question. Third question, which teaching method is best? I mean, traditional method or CLT or communicative language teaching method? Modern, it means modern foreign language method. Which of them best for you? You can choose any of this. Okay, fourth question. What is the difference between traditional and modern teaching? Koy bak telefonu. Yes, son. The last question.
What is the modern way?
Nolan, can you explain the reason? Because it's very effectively, yeah? Okay, thank you. Например, уже. Thanks, the lesson is over. Goodbye.
Goodbye.